Oh my God. All right, Abdul, we'll start with you.
I'm a freshman and a computer engineering major.
You're a freshman from Kuwait.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Haoyu Wang. I'm accounting major, junior, and I'm from China, but I've been living in Singapore for the past over a decade. Yeah.
All right.
Hi, my name is Vivek. I'm a second year major right now studying aerospace engineering. I was born in India, but I've lived almost all of my life in Kuwait.
Hi, my name is Julie. I'm a sophomore studying biomedical engineering. I'm originally from Egypt, but I've lived almost all my life in Dubai.
On Tuesday, we talked about homogeneous cultures, okay? We talked about cultures that have very few people who are societies, countries, right? Where very few people are born outside of that country. And in particular, two of the volunteers were from Korea and one was from China. And in Korea and China, almost everybody, meaning like 96.5% to 97%, have Chinese or Korean ancestry. Most people, when you see Koreans, so we talked about this, they're Koreans. You kind of have a real sense of who they are. But you all have experiences that are very different from that. Haoyu, question for you, right? What's difficult about living in a place like Singapore that's just so connected, so diverse? Yeah.
I guess you gotta be really careful about what you say, what you do, what you post on the internet, because in Singapore it's against the law to post or to say racist remarks. So there was this guy who was prosecuted. He was jailed and fined, I think, for passing anti-Christian remarks on the YouTube video. So you got to be really careful. Like, you're around all sorts of different people. They have different cultures. They have different religions. Maybe you don't agree with those, or you don't believe in those yourself. But you got to be really careful about it, respectful.
Okay, so here, hang on, let's flesh this out a little bit. So here in the US, we're currently in the middle of this anti-woke, anti-DEBI, diversity, equity, inclusion, DEIB, right, belonging. This movement, right, where people are pushing back. Like, there are all these rules in the US saying, like, hey, you gotta be really open toward other people, and if you're not, you really, you catch holy hell, right? But nobody is going to get arrested by saying something that's anti-Muslim in the United States or whatever, right? But in Singapore, what you're saying is one of the ways of kind of holding everything together, and I watched a video recently about this, right? One of the ways of holding things together is just to demand that people are very tolerant of other people around them.
Yeah, actually, back a couple of decades, there were a lot of racial riots. Like, Chinese would fight Malays or fight Indians. There would be a lot of blood spilled, and the government decided that there has to be an end to that. So they put in place very strict laws to control. Like, the prime minister, that founder of Singapore, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. He's always accused especially by the Western world, of being putting his hands too much into people's ordinary citizens' life. But his response to that was that had I not done that, we wouldn't be here.
You mean as a country?
Yeah.
Things would have divided and fallen apart.
Without those laws, as we have seen like a couple of decades ago, if people were to act their natural self, we see riots. We see a lot of killing, blood spilled, injuries. But my theory to that is that sometimes people cannot, they don't deserve the freedom. They have to be controlled in some way.
So in a way, what you're saying about that control, which is really interesting, is that, like, here right now, what do you think about what you see in the United States, about all the people hating on other people? And Like, how is that for you?
I guess there's always two sides to everything. You guys in America obviously enjoy the perks of having freedom, but there's a price to pay for that.
What's that price?
And the price is that somebody could just pass racial remarks to you, like you're Chinese. Oh, like I don't know, what's a like racist Chinese remark? I don't know, but yeah, you could just say to that. That people can just say that to your face, and
So-
I don't like that.
And so you're saying in Singapore, from a young age, you learn, hey, be extremely you just learn to be tolerant. And are you then tolerant, or like, does that mean you embrace, or does it mean you just keep your thoughts to yourself?
I think people naturally we would be afraid, or we would be keep away from things that are different to us, that look different, that sounds different to us, and it's natural. But you have to be taught that this is you shouldn't judge by a book by its cover.
Okay, so it's like Sesame Street in the United States, right? You got to go back to Sesame Street.
We have like talks and workshops. We have a racial harmony day. Come on.
Yeah.
Every year, racial harmony.
Racial Harmony Day. Is
Day,
it just
yeah.
a day? Racial Harmony
Yeah,
Day.
we would like as elementary school students, we would dress in, even middle school and high school, we would dress in other people's culture's clothes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And people like the kids really enjoy
Yeah,
that?
the kids enjoy that.
It's not like they don't see it as a stupid snarky
No,
thing.
no.
It's like,
Yeah, I dressed as Indian before.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my friends dress as like Chinese.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. I think Singapore. How's the racial harmony in Kuwait? Because I'm looking at like all these different groups here. Like, what would you say as a native Kuwaiti?
So, in my opinion, as for racial harmony, there are many situations that expats have experienced racism, and I don't think that really associates with the whole of the Kuwaiti citizens. And most expats are respected. Most expats are given their full dignity and have the right to work and live peacefully in Kuwait.
So for you, from your perspective, as one of the 30%, and it feels harmonious.
Yes.
Do you feel? I mean, I remember when I was in Kuwait, every Kuwaiti family got like $15,000. They just got it. Everyone did it, but not the Indians, right? And not the Egyptians and not anybody else, but all the Kuwaiti nationals just got money from the government. It was like a subsidy thing, you know, because there was a lot of inflation and the price of food was high and so on. But Kuwaitis got that, and other people didn't get that, right? Is that? And everyone just sort of seemed as though that was normal. It's like, yeah, of course, Kuwaitis get this, right?
It's because I think it's seen as if Kuwait as a country is responsible for its citizens, as for in this instance, but it is still responsible for the expats and for the Indians and all the other foreigners, but not in this type of way.
Yeah. Okay. Vivek, how are race and culture relations for you from your perspective?
So as we were
Just
talking
tell
about
them to
racial
move
harmony previously, I sort of agree. It's different though, because in places like Dubai, you have people who live like close to each other who are all like different races and like different cultures and so forth. For example, the place I live in, Kuwait, a town called Salmiya, it's funny because it's mostly just Indian people. Like I could walk outside and I don't even need to use English at that point. It's just so full of Indians that sometimes you even forget you're in Kuwait. And so
Wait, so you
because
speak Hindi?
Malayalam.
Balyang? Okay.
It's from the south of India.
Okay, got
You
it.
have a large percentage of the Indian expats who come from there.
Okay, wait, so go ahead.
So you have a lot of people who just live together, and so when you spend most of your days together, there's no like real reason to adapt to the Kuwaiti culture, let's say, because you're really living with Indians most of the time.
So that's what many people say here in the United States. a similar kind of thing to the two of you, right? They would say, yeah, but if you want to integrate, if you want to be part of American culture, whatever that is, right? Because I'm not even certain what that is at this point. I mean, it really depends. I mean, if you're in the Southwest, it's very different than here in central Pennsylvania. But if you want to integrate and be part of it, you really can. And there's a lot of pressure here in the U.S. to encourage immigrants to do that. Like you should. If you don't, like, you know, speak English, right? Dress like Americans, right? If you were wearing hijab, if you were hijabi here, you know, it would be like, it's okay to be hijabi, but it's like, why are you wearing hijab? You know, like, be American. And you would feel that kind of pressure in that way in different places, right? But the two of you don't really feel that in your experience.
Not at all. I think, in fact, it's probably the opposite.
That they don't want you to be.
Yeah, where you're sort of like encouraged to stay out of very Kuwaiti culture, as in like it's reserved for them, basically.
Reserved for them, like that payment for food, the $15,000 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, it's sort of normal because it happens on like a regular basis. That's not like the first and last example of stuff like that.
Okay, but still, living in Kuwait like you were, and again, looking at all these groups, you still felt like you were living in this really immensely multicultural world.
Yeah, so for example, if I were to go out to like a shopping mall, I could walk past, see any group of like, I could see Kuwaitis, Indians, other expats walking past me. I can see people in U.S. Army uniforms walking past.
Yeah.
It's pretty common to see people from everywhere.
Do you have anything? Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I think I have something to add on to, because just now I see people mentioning living together among like basically people of your own race or ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
But in Singapore, people 60 or 70% people live in government housing, and the government control the housing by saying that you have to have a certain racial mix in that particular like building.
Oh, no kidding.
You have to have Malays.
So not only
Chinese,
do you have to speak kindly of other people, but
yeah,
you have to have a racial
you have to
mix.
live together. You have to learn to do that. Like a Chinese, like for example, you have to live next to an Indian and a Malay. Like that's just an example. You have to. That's how you can't buy housing. Like you can't have the whole building like. But that's only for government housing. But then again, it's 60-70% people are living in that. I feel that Singapore, in some ways, is a more extreme version of America. The government just strongly encourages you to be Singaporean instead of be Chinese, be Malay, or be Indian. Be Singaporean.
Be Singaporean. Yeah. What does that mean? Like the guy. Here, can you go? Can you put that photo up? Yeah, this guy, Joseph Schooling, right?
He's famous.
Yeah, he's quite famous, right? I mean, he's really. So, do you have any idea who this guy is? He's like the only Singaporean who ever won a gold medal.
Yeah, gold medalist in the Olympics.
I think he did the butterfly or something in Brazil. But this guy, he has European roots, but was born in Singapore, and speaks 3 or 4 languages, right? Mandarin and
that's
Malay
common.
and
very common.
Yeah, very common, right? But people still question whether this guy some people question whether he was actually Singaporean, but the response by his father, I remember this back in the day, was like, what the hell, what is Singaporean? Like Singapore, there's nothing, Singaporean is just this incredible, like the salad bowl mix of things, like you said, right? Where's this guy Singaporean?
I think it's hard to define what exactly is Singaporean, but it's important, at least for the government, to keep peace in the country. It's important for their citizens, their people, to identify Singapore, regardless what they define Singaporean as.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are bottom lines. Being Singaporean means you have to be racial harmonic. You have to be nice to other races, and etc.
Yeah. How do you think things would have been different for you in Dubai, or would be different, or would you want them to be different? If there was if the Emirati government did something more similar to what Singapore did, like force people to really integrate and be Emirati, as opposed to saying like, hey, we're going to live in this world where we'll be the Emiratis, the nationals, and all you other people will be over here. But like, how do you think, I don't know, like, how does that sound, what he's talking about in Singapore for you?
I wouldn't like that because their culture is also the nice part about it is that not everyone can, like, it's special to them. It's like unique to them. Maybe that's why people want to or try to like integrate with them. But how will it be like?
Wait, no, can you say more about that? And I want to, Vivek, I want to hear what you have to say. Like, what do you mean when you say it's unique to them? Because if you've been, you really have to go to the Gulf to experience it and see
this,
it. Right?
You don't just see it. Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll talk about Arab culture at some point in the semester. But like, what do you mean it's unique to them? Like, what do you?
Like it's. Most Arabs are similar in like things they do, but each like country has its own, of course, own culture, and it's typically like the Gulf. The Gulf has a unique culture to them, or like they do different things, or than the Arabs in general, like the Arabs in general. I don't know how to explain it.
So listen.
I mean, I could go more.
Go ahead. Yeah, say more, and then I have a question.
Because I feel like most of Arab culture is based on their history. So like, because most of like the Middle East is based off of tribes. So like Saudi Arabia is the Kingdom of Al Saud, which is the tribe that made their own country. So a lot of their culture is just based off their history. So if you were to like sort of try to integrate people in, you also have the problem where in gaining new people and like gaining what they know about certain stuff, you also lose parts of your history. It doesn't stay the same anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's unique to them, and that's why it wouldn't be the same or nice if they try to integrate everyone into it.
Okay, so listen. So Americans. So this is what then would you guys say to Americans who are saying like, hey, we have this culture here in the United States, and I'm not even certain what it is. Sometimes people will ask me if I'm traveling. Someone will say like, "Hey, what's your favorite American food?" And I'm like, "Man, there's no food I can pick that isn't from somewhere else, right? Like I don't even know what's American anymore, really." But there's this sense of wanting people to sort of, or demanding, as I said before, people sort of be part of this. And you're saying, hey, wait, and immigrants here in the U.S., people who come to the U.S. will often say, yeah, I want to be part of the U.S., I want to be part of this culture, but I often find that Americans won't let me. Like there's racism or discrimination, or there's some boundary somehow there's there. Maybe it's not that bad, but it's kind of like, I can't always integrate, but I want to. And you're saying, we don't even really want to. We just sort of really appreciate this culture being what it is here. And like, okay, we'll live side by side. But it's like, and they don't really want you to. And you're all living mostly in harmony. And it's like, it's okay. It's just different.
I feel like it's not only because we don't want to. Most of us, like the expats, are also coming from a very, very cultural country. Like I'm coming from Egypt, he's coming from India. It's like very cultural. So there is also no really reason to like go and change and all that.
To go and change.
Like, I feel here in America.
No, listen. No, but this is like in Queens, right? Like if you go to Queens, like I don't know how many million people, 1.5 million, something. I don't know. But it's not just Queens isn't. Everyone doesn't live together. You can walk down the street, and there's 2 blocks where it's where all the Turks live, right? And then you go a couple more blocks, and it's where all the Greeks are. And then over here, it's where Mexicans are, and then the Guatemalans, and then Brazilians, and then Italians, and then it's all these separate micro communities, and people are all kind of pushing up against one another, but they're all living in their own communities.
Well, I feel like that's also sort of because America started off as like the first original like melting pot where people from every communities like across the world came to America. So they brought their own culture. So you didn't really have something like integration back then, I believe,
Mhm.
because if you were to integrate, like you'd be looking back at the Puritans who came on the Mayflower, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
Dude, hang on. You just demonstrated that you know more about U.S. history than half of the Americans in this classroom, okay? I just want to point that out.
feels nice.
Am I right, bro? Am I right? Because you're sheepishly saying, like, I don't have any fucking idea, really. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, but at that time, no one really forced you to integrate into that sort of culture back then, like into white Protestant culture. So if you're trying to integrate now, what exactly are you supposed to integrate into? Because there's so many levels of American culture. There's nothing you can definitively point to as American.
Mm-hmm.